So what if you could get all the money back for all the purchases you ever made? And what if you could create wealth through the debts and expenses that you already have? You've been taught your entire life to give up control of your money. And it's costing you your financial freedom. And here's the thing, it's gotta change. You have to take back control of your money, and you have to do it by changing just one thing. I'm gonna show you a 200-year-old strategy that's used by the wealthiest families and the wealthiest people there are. And this is what they do to take back control of their money, to eliminate their debt, and to actually make and build wealth using their own debts and expenses, just like you can do. Join me and I'll show you how. So here we go, folks. How many of you have ever wanted more money for pretty much anything at all? That should be all of you. And the good news is that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. So for those of you that don't know, I'm Chris Naugle, joined here with Stephen Nagy, and you are in the exact right place. Because what we're going to show you today is how to generate more money. We're not going to just show you how to generate more money. We're going to show you how to generate more money for your retirement, more money for your lifestyle, more money for your family, more money for those real estate deals. And we're also going to show you how to create a legacy. How many of you have children? That's the legacy that I'm talking about. I'm going to share with you 3 wealth building strategies that you can put into motion right now. Like, this is not something that's difficult. These strategies are not hard. Everybody wants to make them complicated, but you don't need an advanced degree in finance to understand this. All you need to do is want a few hundred extra dollars or a few thousand extra dollars every single month without having to work harder, without having to give up control of your money, without having to take on unnecessary risks. That is exactly what I'm going to teach you. How many of you like the sound of that?
Chris Naugle is a nationally recognized entrepreneur from Western New York. In his 16 years of high-level experience in the financial services and advisory industry, he has managed over $30 million in assets, specializing in alternative investments, retirement strategies, and wealth accumulation. Using his expert knowledge in finance, he has successfully bought, renovated, and flipped hundreds of properties. Through his passion and success at real estate, Chris and his wife Larissa's renovation designs have been featured on HGTV's House Hunters, My Lottery Dream Home, and their very own show, Risky Builders. But where it all began was a 16-year-old with a t-shirt company in his mom's basement. A dream of becoming a professional snowboarder, owning a skateboard shop at age 17, and a lot of imagination. Here he is. Welcome to the stage, Chris Naugle.
Oh, yeah.
Usually in front
right.
of the big crowds, you know, the big crowds got you.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right. So listen, all of you are the 5%ers. Okay. Here's the story. If you took 100 20-year-olds and you went around, you asked all those 20-year-olds if they're going to be wildly successful at the age of retirement, what would they all say? Well, of course they'd say, yes, absolutely. I'm going to be a multimillionaire. I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to be a wild success. But now let's take a trip into history and actually into the future. And let's look at those 100 eager, optimistic 20-year-olds. Now they're 65 years old. What has changed? Well, what has changed is out of those 100 eager, optimistic 20-year-olds, only 5 of those 100 will be financially secure by the statistics of the Social Security Administration, just like you're looking at on the screen. How can that be? This is the United States of America. How can it be that only 5 out of 100 optimistic people are going to be financially successful? I mean, this is the greatest country on earth, the land of opportunity. Something very wrong with what is happening out there. And that is what we have to change. That means that 95% of the people out there are going to be working into the ages of 65, 75, maybe even 85 years old. And it's not because they want to, it's because they have to. Now, before all of you get discouraged thinking, oh, that's probably me, I'm going to be one of those. Wrong. You are all the 5%ers. because the other 95% are not here. You are. You're here investing your time to learn something new. And that's the biggest difference between you and them. It's your willingness to learn what the other 5% know. And that's exactly what we got to get right. So the other reason why the 95 unsuccessful 20-year-olds, why that statistic is actually what it is also due to one thing called conformity. Out of the 100 eager, optimistic 20-year-olds, only 5 of them are financially successful. That's because 5 of them created their financial destiny. The key word there is created. The other 95%, for one reason or the other, decided to conform to what somebody else said their life should look like, to somebody else's ideologies. And that is something you cannot accept. Don't let other people tell you that you should this or you should do that. You are a creator and you need to just create your financial destiny, your perfect day. You just need a little bit more knowledge in order to get there. So you saw the video about me, but some of you do not know a lot about me. And I didn't come from money. Okay, I came from what you would call lower middle class. My dad was an alcoholic and my mom raised me. And it was a huge struggle for her. Now, I know that's not the norm. And I know that's not the norm for some of you on this training today. But how many of you have ever had a tough time or known somebody who has struggled financially? Well, that's how I grew up. And even though I didn't come from much, I always wanted more. I wanted more, and that meant I had to do more. How many of you have ever wanted more? Right now, say, I want more. I don't care who you're around. It doesn't matter. You need to say it. And I was always willing to hustle for what I wanted. And I was willing to do what everybody else was unwilling to do, kind of like all of you. I mean, you're all willing to show up here on a Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and you're willing to do what the other 95% are unwilling to do. So fast forward to 2004 in my life. Now, I had some major goals as a young child. One of them was I wanted to be a pro snowboarder, and I had succeeded at doing that. And I also succeeded at opening a chain of skateboard, snowboard shops called Fat Man Board Shops, but I still wanted more. You see, I didn't know a lot about money, and I never really had any up to this point. And I was drawn to the world of finance. And because of some things that happened and me studying and watching that dumb movie, Wall Street, I totally immersed myself into the financial world, and I became a financial advisor. And I excelled at being an advisor. Okay, I became one of the top financial advisors in the firm I was at. I had all the licenses, all the certifications, and ultimately, that's what led me to being successful. And I still had my retail stores, but I was working on the stores, not in the stores. And I've managed tens of millions of dollars for some of the major financial firms that all of you know about. And by 2008, things were going really well. I flipped a couple houses. I was crushing it in the financial business, and life was good. And then I got my next really big idea. My next really big idea was nothing more than to buy this dilapidated strip mall and buy the strip mall and convert it into a 3-unit strip mall where I could move my store Fat Man into, where why pay somebody else rent when you can have everybody else pay your rent? That's the way I looked at it. And you know, in life, we all make decisions, and those decisions are going one direction, right? We have a direction we're going, but sometimes something happens, and now all of a sudden we're going the complete opposite direction we thought we were going. How many of you can relate to that? And despite all the conventional financial knowledge that I had, and despite the conventional real estate knowledge that I had up to this point, there were things I just didn't know. And because of that, the Great Recession hit me like a Mack truck. I was one payment away from being completely bankrupt. It got so bad that I'll never forget this. I came home one night to my brand new girlfriend who had just moved into my house. You see her right on the screen in the middle there, Larissa. And I said, Larissa, I need your help. I can't make it. I can't pay the bills. I can't make it. I need you to help me pay the mortgage. I need you to help me pay the utilities. And oh, by the way, I'm going to move my friend Pete into that bedroom down the hall, and my friend Jessica is going to move in upstairs. Kind of like, any questions? You know, I had a 50-50 shot of her actually sticking with me, but you know what? I think she kind of liked me because she ended up staying with me. And as you can see, we now have a little one, Vivi, so I have an all new Y. But despite that turnaround, after a few years, I was buying real estate again. I was doing really well. I jumped right back into it. And, people were telling me I was crazy for doing this, but I knew what Warren Buffett said. He said, buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. So I started buying real estate. It was a great time. 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, great times to buy real estate. But then by 2014, because of the lack of knowledge, because of some mistakes I made, I was over leveraged, I was under knowledged, and I kept using that same conventional financial knowledge that I'd been taught up to this point. And because of that, I ended up losing all of those properties. 36 units. I had to fire sale them because I couldn't make ends meet, because the bank pulled my line of credit and I just couldn't make it. So you can see, folks, I've had money, I've lost it all. Then I built it back up through sweat and through hard work, and then I've lost it all. And you can only imagine how crappy I was feeling at that point, right? How many of you have ever, made it to a certain level and then all of a sudden something happens and it's all just wiped away? It's really hard. And I just wanted to throw in the towel, like Rocky Balboa. I just wanted to throw the towel in and say, I quit. I'm just going to live a normal life. I'm going to get a normal job like everybody else tells me I should do. Stop putting yourself through this. Stop working so much. Stop chasing these huge dreams. But those dreams are what formed me. Those dreams are what made me. I wasn't willing to conform to what everybody else said my life was supposed to be. And the turnaround didn't come like you would think it would. It came in the form of a postcard. I got a postcard in the mail, and on the back of that postcard, it said, come to this 3-day seminar and get a free iPod shuffle. Because I didn't want to go to a seminar to learn how to flip houses, but I was so down on my luck and I had nothing to lose, but I had an iPod shuffle to gain. So there I went. Off I went. I sat at this event, and at this event, I'll never forget, there was 2 speakers that went up to the front of the stage, and they started talking about money. Now, I perked right up. Money was my game, right? I was a financial advisor, so I perked right up and I listened to them. One of them, Mike, had a show on A&E, flipping houses, and the other guy, Greg, who today is my business partner. So don't ever say that like the people that you come in contact with, that network, don't turn into your net worth, because I'm living proof. And Greg was the bank. They started talking about money. And I was completely blown away. I was blown away because what they taught and what they were talking about was the complete opposite of every single thing I'd ever learned about money. It was the total opposite of what I'd learned being a financial advisor. And I remember I started questioning everything. And I needed to seek this information out. So I jumped in, I dove in, and I started following the wealthy around, starting with Mike and Greg. And then I got plugged into their circles, which were multimillionaires, some billionaires, and people that were living at the levels I wanted to be. And I realized that to get there, I need to surround myself with these people. Now, during this whole process, this whole thing, what I learned that money wasn't the problem. The economy wasn't the problem. The problem was the misinformation that I had been given up to that point. The valuable knowledge, the stuff that I needed, was what I was missing. And that's what kept that cycle repeating itself over and over again. Kind of like, being on a financial hamster wheel, you just never seem to get off. I was on that hamster wheel. Round and round I went. Faster I went, the faster the wheel went. I thought I was getting somewhere, but I went nowhere. How many of you can relate? Well, ever since then, I started changing one thing. The one thing that I learned by following these wealthy individuals around, the secrets of the wealthy, so to say, I had cracked the code. And now it's a couple of years later, and a lot of things are different. Me and my wife have had a show on HGTV called Risky Builders. We flipped about 267 houses. We had 91 rental properties. We've managed millions, tens of millions and millions of dollars. And the only thing I did is got out of the conventional financial. I got the conventional financial knowledge. I threw it away. And I started following what they did and learning what they did and applying it in my life. And this is exactly what I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to share with you what I've learned, some of the biggest secrets of the wealthy, so that you can all transform your lives. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the money multiplier. And the things we're going to talk about are little known, but powerful. Okay. Not a lot of people know about this, but it's incredibly powerful. These wealth strategies and the techniques on how they're applied. And we're going to talk about your money. We're going to talk about your wealth. But we're going to also talk about how you can live like the wealthy using their exact techniques. We're going to cover how you can keep control of your money. Most important thing I can teach you is how to get back control of your money. But I'm going to teach you how to build wealth. Keep that money in your family so that you stop giving away all the money to somebody else's bank and somebody else's family. You need to control and keep the money in your family, like the Rockefellers, like the Rothschilds, and all the wealthiest families in history. They understood one thing. Our family needs to keep our money within that. And that involves them being in control of their money. Or I'm also going to show you something else that's going to be probably very powerful to some of you. I'm going to show you how you can pay off all your debts and your expenses and how you can recycle and recapture the money that you give away each and every single month. And I can show you how to do this without you having to work harder or work longer. And I can show you how to do this without taking on any risk. It involves you putting yourself back in control. Now, today, we're not selling anything. I'm simply teaching and educating you on this process. And a lot of people, when they hear about this concept, a lot of people, when they get into this, they say, that looks too good to be true. How many of you have ever said that? Oh, that's too good to be true. Well, that's exactly what I said. When I first saw this presentation, I said that same thing. Now, I was coming from a financial advisor position. I said, that simply looks too good to be true. But let's unwind and unwrap that a little bit. If it's too good to be true, then why are these people writing about it in their books? How about Robert Kiyosaki's book, The Second Chance? Most of you have probably read his other book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. How about the big guy, Tony Robbins, Money, Master the Game? Tony Robbins doesn't just talk about it in section 5.2 of this book. He talks about it all the time. The founder of this concept is R. Nelson Nash. In this book, Becoming Your Own Banker, all of you should get that book and read that book. And then our book, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, and then also the Private Money Guide. In every one of these books, what you're going to learn today is talked about in these, and there's so many more. And it's kind of like this picture on the screen, this bicycle, right? You've all learned how to ride a bicycle. Like, I don't think there's anyone that's ever listened to me or seen me at a presentation that didn't know how to ride a bicycle. It's simple, right? As a kid, our parents get us a little bicycle. They put training wheels on it. We get on the bike. We push the pedals down. And we're like, wow, that's what makes the bike go forward. You turn the handlebars to the right. The bike goes to the right. You turn them to the left. The bike goes to the left. Simple concept. And as that goes on, our parents did something really cruel. They take the training wheels off. And what happened to all of you, including myself, when they took the training wheels off? You crashed. Some of you got bumps, bruises. Some of you shed some blood. But what did you do? You got back on that bicycle and you learned how to ride it. You developed a pattern and a habit of how to do things. Some of you went on to ride wheelies and do all sorts of crazy tricks on those bicycles. But what would happen? Hear me out. What would happen if we changed just one thing on that bicycle that you learned to ride so many years ago? What would happen if we made that bicycle operate like this, so that when you turned the handlebars to the right, the bike went to the left? And when you turn the handlebars to the left, the bike went to the right. How many of you could ride this backward bicycle that only had one thing changed? The answer would be not many of you. Not many of you at all. And there's a video on this that you should all check out on YouTube called The Backward Bicycle that explains exactly what happens when people try to change just one thing that goes against the patterns and the habits that they've created their entire life, thinking that that bicycle only operates one way. But when you change just that one thing, the bicycle doesn't operate that way, and you have to relearn how to ride that bicycle. But the reason I pull up and talk about this bicycle is because the same exact thing is true for money. Your entire life, since you were very little, you've been trained to think about money one specific way. You've been trained to use money one specific way. But what would happen if I told you what you've been trained and taught about money is wrong? It would be very difficult for you to change to this new way of thinking, but it would not be impossible, just like it would not be impossible for you to learn how to ride this backward bicycle. Eventually, you would learn how to ride the backward bicycle. And eventually, you're going to learn how money really works. But it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some effort. So let's get right into it. First off, I need to understand your knowledge when it comes to money. We call this the mysteries of money. First off, what is the definition of money? When I ask this question, I get a lot of different answers, but the true definition of money is nothing more than money whether it's this $100 bill I'm holding in my hand or any other form of money from, I don't care if it's Bitcoin or anything else. Money is nothing more than a means of exchange. Money for food, food for money. Money for car, car for money. Money for house, house for money. We just exchange money for things, for services. That's all the definition of money is. It's quite simple. Now, let me ask you this. What company in the world uses compound interest? The simple answer that I always hear is banks. People tell me banks use compound interest. No, banks do not use compound interest. As a matter of fact, there is not a business in the world that uses compound interest. Banks don't use it. Insurance companies don't use it. Wall Street doesn't use it. And let me give you an example. When you go into the bank, so let's just say you're holding this $100 that I'm holding right now. And I walk into the bank and I give the bank teller my $100. What does the bank teller do with that money? Do they put it in a little box in the back with my name on it? And I say to the teller, hey, can you put this in my little box, the one with my name on it? I'll be back tomorrow, maybe next week to grab this $100. Is that what they do? No. The bank takes your $100 and immediately puts it into circulation. They move your money. They loan it out in those little glass cubicles right behind you, standing at that teller line right there. Banks move money. Every business in the world moves money. They do it through inventory. Cars move, car dealerships move cars. Grocery stores move groceries. Think of any business in the world. What do? They move their money. We are the only ones as individuals who have been taught to give up control of our money and leave that money sit so that we can believe and earn compound interest. And that has to change. Compound interest is, as Albert Einstein says, the greatest and the most powerful financial instrument in the world. He said, those that understand it, earn it. Those that don't, pay it. But if you think that parking your money somewhere to earn compound interest without ever touching it is you being in control of your money, you've got it all wrong. And we are going to change that. Because are your dollars worth more today, or are they worth more in the future? Is your $100 bill worth more today, or will it be worth more in the future? Now, some of you are thinking, well, I think it'll be worth more. Well, then let me ask you, how many candy bars could you have bought 20 years ago for $1? The simple answer, more than today. Your dollars will never be worth more than they are right now, especially right now with them printing $5 trillion, $9 trillion. It's just a constant printing game, and every dollar they print is taking value away from your dollar through a hidden tax called inflation. And inflation rolls me into this next question. Do taxes go up or do they go down? Well, I think all of you can agree right now, taxes are going to go up. It's been openly discussed. Taxes are going to go up. Oh, we're going to tax the wealthy more. Okay, well, taxing the wealthy will make taxes for people that are not considered wealthy go up. It's just the nature of how things work. And even if they don't increase someone's taxes, don't they just find more things to tax you on? Don't they just print more dollars to create more inflation, which is nothing more than a hidden tax that they don't want you to know about? Yes. Do I have your attention now? I'm just trying to get you to start thinking about what's really going on out there and to start taking back control of the money, because if you don't, it's going to be too late. Let me talk about retirement accounts. Everybody talks about retirement. Most of you from a young age have learned about what retirement is. From your grandparents or your parents or someone in your circles, they've talked about retirement. That magic day when we stop working and we sail off into the sunset or whatever they think, it is. But think about retirement. From a young age, I know myself, my grandmother said to me, and my grandmother worked for a factory, so did my grandpa. And my grandma said, Chris, when you get a job, make sure you ask them if they have a 401k, and then ask them if they do, if they match. And what you want to do is you want to put as much money as you can into that 401k so that someday you don't have to be like grandpa and I, you can actually retire and have enough money to do that. Now that was wise advice based on the knowledge my grandma and grandpa had. But the knowledge my grandma and grandpa had was the knowledge from conventional sources, from the conventional wise, financial advisor or guru that tells them that that's what they should do. But really, what are we doing when we're putting our money in the 401k? I want you to think about this hard. We already went over the bank, but when you have a 401k and you get paid, do you actually get the money and put it in the 401k? No. Before taxes come out, they take your money and they put your money in pre-tax into the 401k, where that money will then sit for 5, 10, 15, maybe even 30 years. And then at the magic age of 59 and a half, you can then take that money back out. Sounds like a great idea. And, during that period of time, the money will fluctuate and go up or down, or even sometimes evaporate in a market crash. But I want you to think about all these different mysteries of money we just talked about, from the compound interest to are your dollars worth the most today, to taxes going up. When we put money in retirement accounts, qualified retirement accounts, we're really violating all these things we just agreed were true, such as your dollars are worth the most today. So why would we take our most valuable dollars, put them away at today's tax rate, which we can all agree on, is probably the lowest tax rate for at least a very long period of time, so that someday later, 5, 10, 15, or 20 years, we can take those weaker dollars back and pay higher taxes on the same dollars, all because we thought the money would go up in the markets, or because our employer gave us a match. You see, we do things with money that we would never, ever do with things that money buys. Would you ever go out and buy a loaf of bread from the grocery store, a beautiful Italian loaf of bread, come home, put it in the freezer and shut the door, and then wait 5, 10, 15 years, come back, open the freezer door and take out 2 freezer burned loaves of bread? Now, why would it be that I put one in and I was able to take out 2 freezer burned loaves of bread? Because you got a match. But would you eat either one of those loaves of bread? No, they'd be freezer burned. Would you ever go out, save a whole bunch of money up, and then buy your dream car? The car you've always dreamed about, the one that was on your wall as a child. And then as soon as the dealership gives you the keys, you say, oh, hold on a second. I can't drive this car for 5, 10, or 15 years. I got to treat my money the same way as I treat, or the same as I treat things that I buy with money. Or would you ever buy your dream house? You buy your dream house with your significant other. And right when they give you the keys and you're just about to move and you say, honey, sorry, we can't move in for 5, 10, 15 years. You would never do that. And if you did, you wouldn't be married anymore. But yet we do things with money we would never, ever do with things that money buys. We just agreed you wouldn't do any of those things. Those are things money buys, but that's what you do with your money. You give up control in the hope of having more someday later, and you're going to get paid back with weaker dollars, higher tax dollars. Folks, I do this just to help you understand what's going on out there. And now that you understand that, let's talk about how your money actually flows. This is an important thing. I'm sure somebody on this training today is going to be buying a new car. And I don't care who it is. So let's just pretend that one of you is buying a $25,000 automobile. And I'm going to assume that that person has $25,000 parked at a really, really good local bank. Okay, you got $25,000 at this really good bank, and that bank is paying you 4% on your money. Now, do any of you have a really good bank paying you 4% right now? Probably not. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. And even when the bank does pay you 4%, is it guaranteed? No, but we're just assuming you found yourself a really, really good bank that is willing to pay you 4%. So now you're going to buy a car. You saved up 25 grand, which is enough to pay cash for the car. And there's what, 3 or isn't there 4 ways to buy a car? We can pay cash for a car, right? That's way number one. You can finance the car, trade monthly payments, principal plus interest for the ability to drive the car and then pay the car off in 5 or 6 years. Okay, that's 2. We can lease the car, where we exchange, or technically rent the car. We exchange monthly payments for the right to drive the car. Then we just give the car back and we get nothing in return. And the 4th way is you can steal the car. I mean, that's a way to acquire a car. I wouldn't suggest it or think that any of you would ever steal a car, but there are 4 ways to buy a car. So let's just assume that this person that's looking to buy a car is going to pay cash. They've saved up 25 grand and they're going to just pay cash because they don't want a monthly payment. So they walk into this bank, this really good bank that's paying them 4%, and they say to the banker, and I'm going to play the banker, Banker Chris, I want to buy this car. I've saved up enough money. So I'm going to take that money out of this really good bank and I'm going to go pay for this car. And as your banker, I say to you, I say, whoa, hold on just 1 second. How about this? How about our bank makes you a loan for $25,000 to buy that car? And what we will do is we will pay you more money on the $25,000 that you have sitting at our bank earning 4% than you will ever pay us on that car loan. And that car loan holds a 6% interest rate for the next 60 months. You would look at me, the banker, and you would say, Mr. Banker, I appreciate you. I appreciate this really good bank, but what you just said just can't happen. There's no way you're going to pay me more money on my $25,000 earning 4% than I will pay you on this $25,000 car loan at 6%. Dude, 6 minus 4 is -2. I'm going to lose 2%. So then you got to ask yourself, is the banker telling you the truth? Is it possible to earn more earning 4% when you're paying 6? Your mind wants to tell you absolutely not, but you know that this is a trick question, which it is. The banker, me, the really good banker, is telling you the truth. And let's do the math. So right here, that $25,000 car loan at 6% over 60 months, the monthly payment's $483.32. Okay, $483.32 times 60 months means that you would have paid $28,999 for that $25,000 car. Now, how much money would your $25,000 that's sitting in that bank earning 4% have earned over the exact same time frame of 60 months? And folks, it doesn't matter if the time frame is 24 months, 36, or 60. I just picked 60 months because it's a pretty common time frame. Well, the answer is $30,525. Now, unless you do math differently in whatever town you're in than we do here in Buffalo, New York, $30,525 minus $28,999 is $1,526 more. You made $1,526 more earning 4% when you're paying 6. How is that possible? Can anyone give me the answer on how that's possible? Because it's quite simple. The answer is the money that's sitting in your bank earning 4% is earning compounding 4% interest, meaning every year it's compounding on a higher amount. 25 times 4% is a higher amount. And they just keep doing that. It keeps compounding. And the $25,000 car loan that was basically given to you from the bank is a declining balance. So one is going up because of compounding, one is going down because it's simple interest and you're paying the loan down. So it absolutely is possible to make more earning 4% when you're paying 6. But that's not something that your mind tells you is wrong. So let's get into the money multiplier method, the method that I learned from the wealthy. Okay, this is what the wealthy do with money. And I continue to keep proving this theory and this concept over and over. The more wealthy people I meet, the more times I ask them what they do with money, the more I realize this truly is the secret of the wealthy. This truly is what I would call cracking the code. And the money multiplier method isn't complicated, like I said earlier. It involves a machine. We need a machine to keep your money flowing. We need a machine to move your money through. And that machine has to be efficient. Okay, secondarily, we need to understand that building wealth is a marathon. This is the hardest thing for most people. Everybody wants a get rich quick scheme or get rich quick way. They want to know, how do I make money tomorrow? Well, if you're one of them, this isn't for you, because building wealth is a marathon, just like life. Life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. If you try sprinting through life, you're going to be a really unhappy individual. The same thing, if you try sprinting to wealth, chances are it's not going to work and it's not going to last. And the very last thing that you need for the money multiplier method is what I call, you need a goal. You need a dream. What are we trying to accomplish? Is your dream to become a millionaire, a billionaire? Is your dream to get out of debt? Is your dream to get all the money back for all the cars you ever buy, drive, and own? It doesn't matter what your goal and your dream is. We need one. Otherwise, why are we doing this? So with all these things being said, let's start dissecting those 3 different things. So the first thing I like getting out of the way is the most important one. It is the machine you're going to use to build your wealth and keep your money in your family. So what is this magic machine that we're going to use to build your wealth? Well, that magic machine is nothing more than a dividend-paying whole life insurance policy from a mutually owned company. Now, as soon as I say that, before you log off, understand this. I am not talking about a regular life insurance policy. I am not talking about the whole life policy that you buy walking into the insurance store. This is a specially designed and engineered whole life policy. So before you get your misinformation, the information you think you know is true, hear me out to explain why what I'm showing you and what this machine is and why it's different. And the other thing is what the heck does a whole life insurance policy that pays dividends from a mutually owned company have to do with me building my wealth? That might be a question you're asking, because that's what I asked. The answer is, it's because that's what the rich do. That's what the wealthy do. And the #1 purchaser of whole life insurance policies in the world is none other than conventional banks. Oh, you don't believe me? Well, good. Google it. Google BOLI. BOLI stands for bank-owned life insurance. And when you're done with that, Google COLI, company-owned life insurance. And what you will find that traditional banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they own more whole life insurance than they do all the land in the buildings combined. How many of you have driven through any metropolitan area, any city, any town, and not seen a high-rise bank or not seen a branch on every single corner of every single town? They own a lot of real estate, but yet they have more whole life than they do all the real estate and land. When sometimes we think real estate is the greatest investment on earth. And I agree it is, but insurance company or banks know something that you don't. And all we have to do, folks, is mimic what the banks do. And if the banks are using this machine, this specially designed and engineered whole life, to continue to move their money, build their wealth, and I'll tell you how, then we just need to take a lesson from them on how they do this. So let's get into it. You remember that mysteries of money that I just showed you a second ago, where it was possible to earn 4% and make more than your loan at 6%? This example right here, the reason I showed this is because that wasn't a bank at all, folks. And unless any of you know of a traditional conventional bank that's paying you a guaranteed 4%, well, then this isn't a bank at all. This is a fairy tale. This is like a hypothetical. But you see, right now, 2021, and this will be the last year for this. This is the insurance company. This is that specially designed and engineered whole life. It is possible to do exactly this if you knew a place to earn 4%. And until the end of the year, we do know a place. But after the end of the year, that's going to go away, and that guarantee is going to reduce to some number that we don't know yet. But let's now go into banks. So if we're going to mimic the bank, we have to understand how a bank operates and how a bank works. So let's go through how a bank works. It's simple. You take your deposit, you take your money, and you deposit it in the bank. We all have done this. You get paid, you put the money in the bank. And what happens when you put the money in the bank? Well, the bank pays you an interest rate. In this example, I'm just going to use 4%. Don't get hung up on the numbers. It's just an example. Okay. So what does the bank do? Well, we already talked that the bank moves money. So the bank then loans your money and everybody else's money out to someone who's looking to buy a house. They do a mortgage. They lend the money out on a tangible real estate property in the form of a mortgage. And then they charge 7%. Again, don't get hung up on the numbers. These are just examples. So the bank gives the loan to the buyer of this house, the borrower. The borrower exchanges that money to the seller for the keys. And the seller does what? They deposit that money back into their traditional bank. So now every time the bank gets a deposit, every time you put money in the bank, that's an asset to you, right? So when you make a deposit in your bank, that is an asset. It feels good. Does anyone not like walking into the bank and making deposits? It's a very good feeling. And while you're in there, you can grab one of those lollipops that they always give away, which we'll cover. But to the bank, your deposit represents a liability, much like what Robert Kiyosaki talks about, assets and liabilities. So banks don't want liabilities, they want assets. So what is that loan and that mortgage, or what is that? Is that a liability or an asset? That is an asset. The loan that the bank makes using your money is an asset to the bank. So they're turning liabilities into assets while using your money. So when the seller puts that money back in the bank doesn't want a liability. So what they do is they find somebody who's looking to buy one of these BMW M4s, and they loan that money out at a rate of 8%. And then the borrower, the person who's going to be buying the car, exchanges it to the car dealership, and the car dealership gives them the keys, and the car dealership deposits the money in their bank, creating another liability. So the bank immediately turns that money around and lends that money back to you to do a home remodeling. Maybe you're putting in a man cave or a bathroom or a kitchen. They lend that to you at 9% because now they're in a second lien position, not a first lien. There's priority. They always want to be in first, but if they're going to be in second, they're going to charge you more interest. So you do the home remodel, you pay the contractors put the money back into the bank immediately moves that money out and lends it back out to somebody who decided to go to Las Vegas, put it all on black, and unfortunately it hit red. And he just wiped out all of his money, including his credit cards. So now he's got maxed out credit cards and he needs a debt consolidation loan. Now the debt consolidation loan is zero, like the bank doesn't have any collateral. So the bank is at risk. So the bank is going to charge more interest to support the added risk. So 12% might be a good common number to use for debt consolidation loans. Then you pay off all those credit cards you racked up and the bank gets the money. So let's go around this. So if you're making 4% on the money you deposit in the bank, but the bank's lending it out at 7, how much did the bank just make? Well, 7 minus 4 is 3. If you're making 4 and the bank lends it out on that BMW at 8%, the bank is making 4% spread. If they give you 4 and they charge you 9 for that home remodel loan, that's a 5% spread. And if it's 4 minus 12 for that debt consolidation, well, that's 8%. So how much money did the bank actually make on you giving up control of your money? Well, the answer is, if you add them up, 20%. The bank made 20% on the money that you deposited there. But you see, that's not even the whole truth. Because if we did the math on here, how much do you think the bank actually made on the money that you deposited into the bank? Is it 20%? Is it less? Or is it more? Well, the answer is just in the math. If we take the 4% that the bank's paying you, and we take the 20% that the bank's making on your money, and we divide 4 into 20, we get what? 5 times, or 500% more than you are making. The bank is making 500% more than you on the money that you are giving up control of to the bank. But, let's go one step further. You see, the fact is banks make between 400 to 1,300% more than you do on the money that you leave there. Go to BauerFinancial.com, look up any bank in any state, and you will see that every bank is making between 400 on the low side and 1,300 on the high side. That's how much they're making, but it's okay. Because the banks, you don't have to go very far to find a bank to make your deposit, right? Every corner of every city and every town pretty much has a bank. And are they always brand new, nice, manicured buildings? Absolutely. They're putting your money to good work. The profits they make on your money are going to good work. More branches, so you can make more deposits in those branches. Great business model. Then they give you free suckers. I know every time I walk into the bank, there's a little cup, a little mug right up high. I'm only 5'4", so it's usually above me. And I reach in that little mug and I pull out whatever flavor of lollipop I want. And they come in all different flavors: grape, watermelon, cherry, lime. And you unwrap it and you're enjoying your free lollipop. And you look at the wrapper. What does the wrapper say on every lollipop at every bank across the country? It says dum-dums. Dum-dums. Are they trying to send you a message? Because the lollipop should probably say thank you, but it doesn't. It says dum-dums. Fact? Absolutely. Check your bank to see if you can get yourself a brand new dum-dum sucker, and you will see. Heck, my wife really had it figured out. She used to go make her deposits at the bank on Fridays, and I never understood. She'd go there and she'd be gone for a half hour, sometimes an hour. And I'd be like, sweetie, I'd call her or text her. I'd say, where are you? I'm at the bank. I'm like, is there a long line out the door? It's been a half hour. No, honey, they're serving free wine. And if I stick around, I meet some people and I start networking. And, this is back on real estate days. She literally figured out the day the bank was giving away free wine. So she made her deposits those days, and she came home with an umbrella or a toaster oven on occasion. That was pre-COVID. So annual spending that we do, what is the pattern of spending and how most people operate? Well, it's very simple. So most people will spend, out of $1, they will spend 20 cents of every dollar on automobiles, 30 cents of every dollar on housing, 40 cents of every dollar they make on everything else, which means they are giving 90 cents of every single dollar away to somebody else. That was as of 18 months ago, give or take, okay, with COVID, the average savings rate was between 5 and 6%. So that means 5 to 6 cents of every single dollar is what people were saving. But I'm going to assume, because you are all the 5%ers, that you're saving at least 10%. So most financial advisors, and myself included when I was an advisor, I would always ask people, if they wanted to save or build wealth, I would say, well, how much money are you saving? Then I would ask, well, how much more can you save? And if they said, oh, I can't save any more than I am now, it's great. How much more risk are you willing to take to earn more money? How much more risk does someone really want to take, especially right now? Well, if you're thinking about that, the answer should be not much more or no more. That's that. But advisors focus on, can you save more or can you take on more risk? But that's not what I'm going to talk to you about now. I'm going to talk to you about The money that you're saving, yes, but I'm rather going to talk to you about the money that you're spending. I want to show you how to build wealth through your own debts and expenses that you already have. I want to show you how you can take some of the money that you're giving away to everybody else, okay, to the cars, the housing, and everything else. And I want to show you how to reverse that and start taking that money back through a process that has been proven for hundreds of years. We're going to change the cash flow, and you're not going to lose control. You're actually going to take back the control, and you're not going to do it with taking on any risk at all. So how do we do that, Chris? How is that even done? Well, let's start first with what would happen with the car. So if we give away 20 cents of every dollar to automobiles, well, what if we had a way with just changing one thing? What if we could then not need to borrow money and pay the bank's interest? What if we could use a method and a machine, the one I just showed you, to buy our cars? And in doing so, we would not have to give up the 5 cents in interest to somebody else's bank for that car loan. That 5 cents, so now 15 cents of every dollar is still going to automobiles. You got gas, you got insurance, you got all the added expenses. But to buy the vehicle, we're not going to pay somebody else any interest. The person that's going to get the interest is you. So that would enable you out of the 20 cents to take back 5 cents. See how we just increased your savings by the amount we saved from the automobile. Well, let's go to the most important one. It's not automobiles, it's your housing. How many of you actually own a house and have a mortgage? A lot of you, right? Or if you don't, you know somebody that does. See, people spend an average of 30 cents on housing, of which 25 cents of that 30 is going to interest. How can that be? Well, how many of you have ever looked at your mortgage statement that shows principal and interest broken out? I want you to look at that. Look at your monthly mortgage payment. Look at how much of your monthly mortgage payment is going to interest and how much of your monthly mortgage payment is going to principal in the first 7 years of your mortgage. Well, if any of you do this, you will find that it's over 80% of every single payment you make on that mortgage is going to interest. I don't care if you've got the best mortgage rate. I don't care if your rate's 1.75%. 80% or more is going back to the bank in interest of every one of those payments. You see, the bank has figured this out. They've got us all fooled. They've got us all trapped into this. We think because the mortgage rates are so low, now we should all rush out and buy houses. But the bank is laughing at you because the bank is winning in the velocity of money. The bank is winning in the velocity of the interest that you're paying. See, it might be a low interest rate, but you're giving the majority of that low payment or that monthly mortgage payment, low or high, you're giving it back to the bank in the form of interest in the first 7 years. Why 7 years? Well, because the banks have figured out a long time ago that the average person stays in a home 5 to 7 years. And then after the 5 to 7 years, they either upgrade to a different home, move to a different area, or refinance their house to get a lower rate and a lower monthly payment. Think about it. How many of you can honestly say that you've been in your house longer than 7 years without ever refinancing in that time frame? And if any of you are thinking, well, yeah, we have been, you're the rarity. You are literally like the 1%, because most people refinance, they get hung up on the rate, they get hung up on all the things that don't matter. It's the velocity you're losing to. But what if we could change that too? What if we could change it and we could have the interest go to our bank, not somebody else's? Well, if we could take back 25 cents of that 30 cents that we give away. Now look at our savings. See, all we're doing here, folks, is building wealth through the debts and expenses that you already have by changing just one thing. We're going to get to that in a second. Lastly, everything else, going out to eat, going on vacation, diapers, everything else you spend money on, groceries. Most of you use a credit card. And most of you have the best intentions with your credit cards to pay them off at the end of the month, but we don't always get around doing that. So we carry a balance, and that balance is charged a high interest rate. How much? I don't know, 15, 20, up to 29.99% is what the credit cards charge. So if we look at this 40 cents that we spend of every dollar on everything else, at least 5 cents of that is going to interest. So if we had a way by changing just one thing to take back the interest by paying off the credit cards each and every single month without working harder, without working longer, without giving up control of our money, wouldn't that make sense to pay that credit card off every month? Of course. And if we did that, 5 cents would now go over to savings. So all I want you to do is now I want you to look at this equation right here. How do you like the look of that? You're still giving money away to everybody else, but it's significantly less than the money that you're able to save. And the money that you're able to save here, the only thing that changed is you stopped giving away interest to everybody else and you started taking back control of your money, being the bank, and paying the interest to yourself in the form of saving more money. That's pretty cool, right? Well, what I'm going to show you next is going to be way cooler, because now I'm going to show you how to get all the money back for every single car that you will ever buy, drive, and own. This is where people say, oh, that sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and it's very simple. So stay with me and I'm going to show you how it works. So let's go back to that machine that we talked about. Now, just for a recap, or if anyone just joined us, what is the machine that we're going to use to move our money? It is nothing more than a specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy that doesn't look anything like the whole life that you bought at the insurance store. So if we're going to look under the hood of this specially designed whole life, we have to look at it like looking at a car, right? Since we're going to show you how to get all the money back for every car you're going to buy, drive, and own, we have to really look at, are all cars created equal? Well, let's pick on a Ford Focus, not a sexy car. If you buy a Ford Focus, it's an economy car, good on gas, low price, low monthly payment. But when you roll one of those Ford Focuses off the dealer floor, is that a fun car to drive? Does it go fast? Can you go around corners at 100? No, it's just a daily driver. But if we then look at a Ford Focus rally car with 800 horsepower, isn't it the same car? One's a Ford Focus, the other's a Ford Focus, same thing. But one of those Ford Focuses, the rally car, was specially designed and engineered to go fast, to go around corners at over 100 miles an hour and be in full control. The only thing that changed between those two cars was design and engineering, because it's the same chassis, the same car. Well, the same thing is true for this machine that we're talking about, this whole life policy. You're used to driving and buying the regular whole life. We're talking about the specially designed one that performs like the race car does. So looking under the hood, we have to change the way we think. And this is very hard, but not impossible. When you make premium payments, when you pay your car insurance or you pay your term life insurance policy, that is an expense. That is a premium that you don't like making, because that money is leaving your family forever. But when you made money deposits into the bank, like we talked about earlier, that deposit felt good. That's an asset. So when we look at making premium deposits into these specially designed and engineered whole lives, we have to think about it differently, because it is different. The majority of the money you're making in those premium deposits is going directly into your bank. And what is your bank? It is that specially designed and engineered whole life. And then there's always somebody that's watching that says, oh, I'm too old for this. Well, let's talk about that. If I took a 30-year-old and a 60-year-old, now that's a big age difference, 30-year difference. The 60-year-old might say, I'm too old for this. This will never work for me. But here's the fact. The way we design these, the 30-year-old and the 60-year-old, if they put the same exact dollars into the same exact specially designed and engineered whole life, they would have the same cash value, but there would be one drastic difference, because the age does catch up with that person somewhere, and it's in the form of the death benefit. Now, when we design these plans, the one thing I want to be clear about is we're using a specially designed whole life to create a banking system, but this whole life, we're going to design it with the lowest possible death benefit by the rules. They're called MEC 7 pay rules. By the IRS rules, we're going to put the lowest death benefit we can on, and we're going to stuff the most amount of money we can in under those same IRS rules called the MEC 7 pay rules. So the death benefit to us when we design these is not the primary. It is the secondary or even the tertiary concern. And I've never met anyone in my life that cared more about the money somebody was going to get the day they died than they did about the money they have while they live. In other words, people care more about the money they have while they're living more than they care about the money that's going to go to somebody else when they die. True or true? So let's get into how to get all the money back for every car you're going to buy, drive, and own. So the first thing we have to look at it is to buy a car. We talked about the 4 ways to do it. We're going to focus just on cash. We're going to pay cash for the car. So to pay cash for a car, what do you have to first do? We have to save the money, right? Well, same thing here. But we're going to change one thing. We're going to change where that money goes first. Right now, when you save money, you probably put it in your bank account, your savings account, and you save up for that car. Okay, you have a goal, which is the car, and you save enough money for that. So let's just assume that you change where that savings goes first. And for this example, I'm just going to use $10,000 a year, which is about $833 a month. We're going to change where that $10,000 a year goes. It's going to go into that specially designed whole life in the effort to buy a car. So in the first year, we put 10 in, and in this example, we're going to have 5,800 available immediately. Okay. The next year we put 10 in, we have 12,000 available. And the next year we put 10 in, and we have, if you add this 25 back in, 29,204. Almost every penny of what we've deposited is available. But then what we're going to do is we're going to then take $25,000 out of the account. And what we're going to do is we're going to buy a car. So we took a loan from our bank, which is right here, the cash value in the money multiplier account. This is your cash value, no different than the money in your bank account that you save for the car. We're going to take $25,000 out, but we're going to take it out as a loan. Now I'll explain this in a moment, but when you would, the second way you could have bought a car is you could have taken a loan out from the dealership. Well, we're just going to do the same thing, except for we're going to take a loan from our bank, which means we control the terms of our bank. But if we took a loan from someone else's bank, their bank would have a monthly payment of principal and interest, correct? And we would have no problem paying that monthly payment if we wanted the car. So when you take a loan from your bank, you should treat your money the exact same way you treat the bank's money. So therefore, we should basically pay ourselves back, pay our bank back the exact same amount you would have paid their bank. So let's, for this example, call it $500 a month. So we're going to make a $500 a month payment back to our bank each and every single month in the effort to pay back our bank for the loan we took out. So if we do that, let's just look at the numbers. Okay. So over 7 years, we put in 10,000 each year, or monthly. It doesn't matter how you put the money in your bank. Okay. You can do it monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, doesn't matter. But we put 70,000 in. But then what did we do? We took the loan out and we paid our bank back at an amount of $6,000 a year, $500 a month. So that's $30,000 that we paid for that $25,000 car after interest. So 70 plus 30 is 100,000. So our true net, or our gross net injection to our banking system, is 100,000. But then we took out 25,000 for the car. Okay. A lot of numbers here, but 100 minus 25 means that our true net injection into our banking system is $75,000. So we put in 75,000 and 5 years goes by. And now what do we have? Well, we have a bought and paid for car in the driveway, fully paid for, still not a bad car. It's 5 years old. And how much money do we have left in our banking policy? Okay. The answer is $67,881 right here. We have $67,881 in our banking system right there. Okay. We put in 75 and we have 67 in our account, which means we got 91 cents of every dollar back for that bought and paid for car. That's not too bad. So we got 91 cents back for every dollar that we just paid for that first car. I don't think any of you could sit there and tell me that you have bought a car and got 91% of all the money you spent on that car back after 5 years without having to sell the car. Because here you didn't have to sell the car. But see, I didn't have you come onto this training to learn how to get 91% back. I told you I was going to show you how to get all the money back. Did I not? So to get all the money back, we now are going to have to buy another car. And after 5 years of owning a car, they lose the new car smell. They need new tires. They need new brakes. It's time for a new car. Give the kids the old 5-year-old car, right? So here we are. We're going to move on, and we're going to now, in year 8, we're going to buy another car, but we're not going to make any more deposits into the banking system. Now, never would I tell any of you to stop making deposits into your banking system. But for an example, I'm going to show you not making any more deposits. So in doing that, we're going to buy another car because we want that new car smell. Don't lie to yourself, folks. You all buy new cars because when you go to the dealership, you shut the door, you grab the steering wheel, you take a breath and you're like, oh my God, that new car smell. They even make air fresheners that are called new car smell. So that's why we buy the car. So what do? We take $25,000 out as a loan from our bank, which is that specially designed and engineered whole life. And then what are we going to do? We're going to make $500 monthly payments back to our bank because we have to treat our money the same as we treat the bank's money. So let's do the math. Well, from years 8 through 12, 5 years, we don't make any new deposits. So that's zero new money going into our banking system. but we made $500 monthly payments. That's $30,000. But then we bought a car. So we got to subtract the 25,000 from the 30 that we put in, which means our true net injection into the banking system was $5,000. $5,000 is the amount we put into the banking system in this example. So if that's the case, well, let's do the math. There's $91,000 in your banking policy. That's the cash value in your account in the 12th year. But now what do you have? Well, you have the first car sitting in the driveway, bought and paid for. And now you have the second car sitting in the driveway, bought and paid for, okay? Terrible drawings of cars, but you get the drift. So if we look at how much money was in our account in the 7th year, and then how much money's in our account in the 12th year, without any new deposits going in, we made $23,000. We have $23,000 more from year 7 to year 12. But that's not how much we made, okay? Because we did have to pay the car back. So we paid $30,000. So if we wanted to know how much money we made, we take 75 from the first 5 years, 5 for the next 5 years. That's 80,000. 75 plus 5 is 80 grand. Okay. Our true net injection for buying 2 cars is $80,000. How much money do we have in our account? 91. How much money did we make? We made $11,473 for buying 2 cars, and we still own both cars, bought and paid for. So I truly did just show you how to get all the money back plus some for buying every car you ever buy, drive, and own. For driving every single car you ever drive the rest of your life, you now know how to get all the money back. And this is not complicated, is it? It involved you changing just one thing, folks. That's all you changed there. You changed one thing, and that was where your money went first. That's rule number 1. Pay yourself first. Rule number 2, okay? Rule number 2 is pay yourself with interest, okay? Rule number 3 is recycle and recapture all the money that you give away to everybody. 3 rules for doing this. Pay yourself first, pay yourself with interest, and recycle and recapture all the money that you gave away to everybody else. That's all you did there. And you didn't have to do anything different. You're already doing this today. You're buying cars already. How are you buying cars? Let's change that. And if it works for a car, what else does it work for? How about boats? How about planes? How about every single thing, vacations and everything else? So that is how you get all the money back for every single car you ever buy, drive, and own. But now I'm going to go into the final section of this training. This is probably the single most important and powerful thing you will ever see. And this is a real case study. See, many years ago, we did this presentation. Brent did this presentation, and there was a 45-year-old doctor. He was a chiropractor in the crowd. And this chiropractor is watching this, and this chiropractor had 9 third-party debts, okay? 9 third-party debts: Discover, Lowe's, Nordstrom, Wells Fargo, private loan, BMW loan, a West Marine boat loan, a condo loan, and a house loan. Okay, he was $478,774 in debt. And that $478,000 in debt was costing him $5,777 a month. You add up all these monthly payments, that's how much he was giving away, $69,000 a year. This chiropractor listened and saw this presentation. It was different then, and he said to us, he said, "Can you help me? Can you help me with my money problem?" And his money problem clearly was debt. And we said, "All right, well, how much money are you saving, Mr. Chiropractor?" And the chiropractor told us that he was saving $25,000 through his 401k and just regular savings accounts. We said, okay, well, what if we just took the $25,000 that you're saving and we stop saving it, we just apply it to the debt? How long would that take to pay off all of these debts? And when we figured the math out, it was 19 years. And the chiropractor looked at us with a crazy look and said, "I can't do that. I can't keep doing this for another 19 years. There's no way." And then we said, well, good. That's the answer we were looking for. If you're willing to change just one thing, doctor, if you're willing to change where the money that you save today goes first, that's it. Where that money goes first, and you're willing to follow a process, we can eliminate all of this debt in less than 7 years. The doctor was thrilled. And now let me show you how we did this. So here's what we did. Year number 1, we changed one thing, and that was where his $25,000 went first. And we put it into that specially designed and engineered whole life policy that we built for his banking system. So he put 25 in. Now, immediately in the first 30 days of him making that deposit, we took the max loan we could from his policy. And that loan was in the amount of $14,863. It's roughly about 60% of his deposit in the first year, actually in the first 30 days. So we take that $14,000 and we paid off Discover, we paid off Lowe's, and we paid down Nordstrom. Now, we were giving Discover $161 and we were giving Lowe's $287. So instead of just paying them off like most of us would and say, got rid of those, what we're going to do is we're going to recycle and recapture the 161 and the 287. So what we're going to do is we're going to take $448, which is the addition of those two monthly payments that he was making to somebody else. And we're going to basically save that money in a brand new checking account. Yes, I did say that. We're going to open a segregated checking account at your local bank or at this chiropractor's local bank. And we're going to have them set up a bill pay or an automatic transfer for $448 every month just to go into that newly created segregated checking account. Now, why would we do that? Well, because he was used to giving away $448 a month to Discover and Lowe's. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to take that $448, the money he gave away, and we're going to recycle and recapture it into an account that he's in control of, i.e. the segregated bank account. So now that you are all with me, let's move on to year two. And now I'm going to go faster and faster now that you understand what we're doing. Year two, the chiropractor changed where his savings went. He put his second year, $25,000 deposit into his banking policy. And the banking policy, just in case you're wondering, is that specially designed and engineered whole life policy. We immediately, in the next 30 days, took out the max loan, which was now $16,571. See how that number is going up? You'll keep seeing this. So $16,000 plus, he had been saving $448 every month. So we took the $448 times the year that he saved it. We had $5,300. So we had $21,000 between the loan from the policy and the amount in his segregated account. So what are we going to do? We're going to take the 21 grand. We're going to pay off Nordstrom, pay off Wells Fargo. We're going to pay off that private loan on his chiropractic practice. And we're going to pay down the BMW loan. And in doing that, his debts are now only $378,013, but his monthly payment to everybody else is now only $3,860. That means that $1,917 that used to go to all these third-party debts is now going into his segregated account. And we set it all up automatically. We do all this through what we call a mapping process. The chiropractor didn't have to do anything except for tell us, this is what my goal is. I want to pay this debt off. So now we have $1,917 going into the segregated bank account. Year three, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put $25,000 into the policy, but immediately in the next 30 days, we're going to take the max loan out. But now look at this, folks. I want you to really look at this. This is magic right here. This is the power of uninterrupted compound interest. And I haven't got that far yet, but I want you to notice that he put in 25, but he took out 25,541. He took out more money than he put in. At this point in this banking policy, in every one of your banking policies, if you choose to go this route, there is a point where you hit the efficiency point where you will make more money than what you deposit every year that you put money in the plan. The chiropractor hit this point, we call it the efficiency point, in year three. So we got 25,541 from the loan. We were saving 1917 every month. So we got 1917 in the segregated account every month, added up to $23,004. So we take 25 plus the 23, we have $48,000 that we are going to use to pay off the BMW, to pay off that boat loan from West Marine, and to pay down the condo. So 3 years later, we have $283,000 in debt, or the chiropractor has $283,146 in debt. And the amount he's giving away to everybody else is now only $2,100. He is now able to recycle and recapture $3,677 every month. This isn't new money, folks. This is money he gave away to Discover, Lowe's, Nordstrom, Wells Fargo, private loan, BMW, and West Marine. All we did is we took back control of that money by changing one thing. So this is the marathon that I talked about earlier. Remember, I said building wealth is a marathon. Now I'm going to circle back to that. What was this chiropractor's marathon? Well, let's look at it. Every year for 3 years, he had to change where his savings went first. So first year, 25, second, 25, third year, 25. He saved $75,000 and he put it into the specially designed and engineered whole life. But then each year, what did we do? We took loans out. We took loans from the insurance company. Now, I'm going to explain this just here, but the loans that he took were 14, 16, and 25. I rounded them all down. So we took loans of $55,000. So if we put in 75, but we took 55 out, how much is left in the policy? Well, most of you would take 75 minus 55 and say, well, Chris, there's $20,000 left in the policy because 75 that we put in minus the 55 in loans we took out, we have 20,000 left. Wrong. You don't have 20,000 left in your policy. You have $75,000 left in your policy. So let me explain this. In these banking policies, this is only possible using a whole life policy. We put in $75,000, okay? That $75,000 didn't get interrupted, and the interest and dividends, the guaranteed interest that we're earning on that money, okay? Terrible writing there, but that's G for guaranteed interest, plus the annual dividend that the mutually owned insurance company pays is being paid on every penny of deposit, the full $75,000. When we took the loans, where did the loans come from? The loans were the insurance company giving you money from their general account. But when we hear this word loan, does everybody get kind of a bad feeling? Oh, more loans. I'm paying off loans with loans. It sucks. I don't want to do that. But what if I told you that the loans you're taking out from your bank are not loans that ever need to be paid back? Wouldn't that make you happy? Wouldn't you get happy if you didn't have to pay any of these loans back? But wouldn't you also sit there and say, wait a second, that sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? The catch is the insurance company made two promises, a couple more, but they made a promise that they were going to pay you a guaranteed interest rate on your account. And they also made a promise that someday when you graduate, and I mean the big graduation day, right? The final graduation, we call that death, but I don't like talking about death. The day we graduate, the insurance company has promised contractually to pay a death benefit to your beneficiaries. Now, although I said that death benefit isn't the primary, the death benefit is very important because every one of these loans, this $55,000, was the insurance company giving you in advance of your death benefit. So if you started with a $500,000 death benefit and you took $55,000, the insurance company is going to true up on those loans the day you graduate. They're going to take 55 from the $500,000 death benefit, and the balance, okay, is going to be paid to your beneficiaries. That's how this works. So now that I just explained to you what the wealthy know, and I just showed you how you just cracked the code, what you just learned how to do right there is you learned how, or you learned a place where you can put your capital, put your money, where you will earn uninterrupted compound interest on every penny you put through the plan, but yet you will be able to use the money each and every single year, just like the chiropractor is, and never stop the flow of interest and dividends that your money earns. Isn't that freaking awesome? All right, well, let's get back into the chiropractor. We're on year 4 now. Year 4, we're almost to the 6 years. So what do? The chiropractor deposits the $25,000 in his account, and he immediately takes out $26,304. Now, when I say immediately, what does that mean? What have I been saying the whole time? Immediately in the first 30 days. But remember, that chiropractor paid off all these other payments, but he never stopped paying those payments. He just redirected where all those payments went to the third-party debts, and he put them into his segregated bank account. So he had $36.77 a month set up on autopilot to go into that segregated account, which worked out to be $44,135. So in the 4th year, between the loan and the segregated bank account, he had $70,439. So he paid down his condo. He now, after year 4, owes the condo $15,000. Okay, the monthly amount he's giving away to everybody else is still the $2,100. So we're going to move to the 5th year. In the 5th year, it's the same thing. He puts $25,000 into his banking policy. He immediately, in the next 30 days, takes out $27,090 in the form of a policy loan. And then he had the $36.77, because when you pay a condo or a mortgage down, your monthly payment doesn't change. It's kind of hard to pay mortgages off because there's no immediate gratification. You pay the principal down, the monthly payment stays the same, which is what happened. So $36.77 continued to go into that segregated account. So now he had $71,225 going into that, or that he had saved between the segregated account and the loan. So what's he do? Pays off the condo. Okay, we're 5 years in, and he pays down his house. So 5 years into this, he's $91,000 in debt. He was $478. 5 years in, he went from being $478,000 in debt and $5,777 a month going to somebody else, to now $1,221 every month is going to pay for his house mortgage. $4,556 a month is going to his segregated account. So now what are we going to do? We're going to go into year 6. But something's weird in year 6, because in year 6, we have to play by the rules of the IRS. They're called MEC 7-pay rules. So the chiropractor wanted to deposit $25,000, but he couldn't. He could only deposit $10,000 of the $25,000 into his banking policy. And the reason for it is the IRS rules. Okay. The IRS and the MEC 7-pay rule made it so that this chiropractor could no longer put $25,000 in. So he put the $10,000 in that he was allowed to, and he immediately, after 30 days or in that 30-day window, took out $13,092. Really quick, I want everybody to really focus on this, and I want you to really look at this. If we put $10,000 in and we take $13,000 out, that's $3,092 in profit, right? That's compound interest and dividends right there. What kind of a return is that? If you had to put $10,000 somewhere to make it grow to 13,000, what return would that be? 30+% cash on cash return. Think about that. That's a 30% cash on cash return that this chiropractor just made. And this chiropractor didn't have to work any harder to do that. This chiropractor didn't have to take on any risk to do that. All he did is he's got a perpetual tailwind behind his money now. His money is working for him because of uninterrupted compound interest. He was so excited about this. He said, you know what? If banks are the #1 purchasers of whole life and they have a branch office on every corner, well, I need a second branch office. I need to put more money into my banking system, just like the regular bank does. So he opened his second banking policy, and he put $25,000 in, and he immediately took out the max loan, which is $14,863. So now we're 6 years in. We put in $35,000 in the 6th year, but we took out 13 from the first policy, 14 from the second. Plus, we were saving $4,556. So we had $54,000 in that segregated account. That gives us a total amount of $82,633. We only owe $76,000 on the mortgage. So 6.5 years later, this chiropractor is debt-free, has no more debts, is now putting $5,777 a month into his bank instead of somebody else's bank. And this chiropractor did it by changing just one thing. He didn't work harder. He didn't work longer. He didn't take on additional risk, and he didn't give up control of his money. He changed where his money went first, and he followed a process called the infinite banking concept. And the infinite banking concept is nothing more than mimicking what a bank does every day. We helped him by creating these maps. Every one of our clients to use our mapping team. Our mapping team is not some elaborate fancy software. It is a team of actual people that know what they're doing. And that's how we did this for the chiropractor. We mapped out all of his debts. We mapped out all of his monthly payments he was making. We put them into a formula, and we showed him exactly what you just saw. And we helped him through that whole process until he was debt free. So now that you understand how this system works, now you understand how the machine, okay, you understand how the process works. Now what we have to understand is the goal. Well, every goal is different. That chiropractor's goal is to get out of debt. But if your goal is to become a millionaire, how would you get there? Well, question would be, how would you eat an elephant? The answer, one bite at a time. And if you wanted to climb a mountain, how would you get to the top? One step at a time, because nobody falls on the top of a mountain. You climb to the top. So the same thing is exactly true with money. And that right there is the marathon of how you achieve your goals. Now, if that chiropractor had continued to just pay his condo and his house back as planned, let's say he never heard about this and he just paid 251 months of that $879 to his bank, that would be $220,000 he paid for the condo, and his house was $1,221, 224 months, $273. He would have paid $493,967 back to someone else's bank. But what did the chiropractor learn how to do? He learned how to recycle and recapture the money he was giving away and pay that money back to himself. So indeed, this chiropractor actually put $493,000 back in his bank, not someone else's. But he also learned how to earn a guaranteed interest rate. Now, this says 4%. I want to be clear about something. This 4% interest rate ends at the end of 2021. There is a fire sale right now. If you like this, you're going to want to act before the end of the year, because that guaranteed rate, because of the 7702 rule that just came out, is going to go down. But if you did lock into a policy this year. And all of us that have policies that are paying us 4%, we will make 4% to the day we graduate. So will this chiropractor. And if he just earned 4% on the amount of money he would have given away, how much would he have? Well, $749,000. That's the power of uninterrupted compound interest. That's why Albert Einstein said, those that understand it earn it. Okay. That chiropractor is now earning it, not paying it, because those that don't understand it pay it. And by the way, folks, during this whole presentation, was there ever a time that we really talked about the death benefit? We didn't really talk about it except for that the loans were in advance of the death benefits, because we don't design these plans for a death benefit, but there will always be a death benefit. So someday when you do graduate, your family or your beneficiaries will receive a tax-free death benefit if it's designed properly. How about the loans? I already told you this, but they don't ever have to be repaid because they're in advance of the death benefit. So the insurance company makes good on that debt, that loan, the day you graduate. You have the right to pay that loan back. Now, that chiropractor, when he got done paying all those things off, what he did is took some of that $5,777 and started monthly paying it back to pay his loans off, to recycle and recapture more money to regenerate his policies. The internal values, all those gains, remember 10,000 was 13, that was a 30% cash on cash return. Do you realize that all the internal values were tax-free? And lastly, for surgeons or anybody that's in a high risk, occupation, we work with a lot of docs and surgeons and business owners, but these policies are exempt from judgments and liens in most states, meaning this money is now protected. Now it's state specific. We're not going to get into that, but most states, this applies. So Warren Buffett is somebody I admire. And Warren Buffett says, if poor people would just do what the rich do, they wouldn't be poor anymore. Now, you might hate that statement. You might hate what that says, but that is the truth. If we all just mimic what the wealthy do, well, our lives would change. Our finances would change. I am living proof. And 3,000 plus other people, our clients for the Money Multiplier, will also attest that that is absolutely true. We need to start learning how to mimic what the wealthy do. And this is just one way to do it, but this is the foundation. This is the first step. Because only one of two things are going to happen to all of us. Only one of two. Every one of us will either live or we're going to die. And the question is, are we better off with or without this? If we live, clearly we're better off with it. Are we better off with or without this? If we die, clearly better with this because of the legacy and the death benefit. And this is my favorite quote of this entire thing. The problem in America isn't so much what people don't know. The problem is what people think they know that just ain't so. I want you to think about that and let that set in. Because when that set into me, what that told me is that told me unconditionally that I was surrounding myself with the wrong people. I always thought I knew what I didn't know. I was a high-level advisor, so I thought I knew everything there was until somebody showed me the truth. Until I realized that the problem wasn't what I didn't know, okay? It was what I thought I knew. And what I thought I knew just wasn't true. And that is where everything changed. You need to get around people that know what they're doing. I happened to get around the wealthy, and the wealthy started showing me this, which is how I learned this. You, whether you've seen this 1 time, 10 times, or this is your first time, you now have just seen what I would call the pimple on the elephant's butt, okay? You have a lot more to learn, but at least you know that this is possible. And if you're interested in learning more, I know you can send us an email, or you can just get on our calendar where we can answer your questions, because I bet you a lot of you have questions about this. And if you have questions and you want to take back control of your financial situation, here's what you're going to do. Just text the word money to 833-217-3854. So just on your phone, grab your phone and just type in 833-217-3874. And down in the text body, just type in money. Doesn't matter if it's capital or lowercase. When you do that, we will send you a text which will give you access to our calendar. You can then book a call with us, and only thing we're going to do on that call is answer your questions. Remember in the beginning, I said we're not selling anything, okay? We are here to show you the way to financial freedom by changing just one thing, like I just showed you and proved to you. So if this is something you like, something you have interest in, then just send that text, get on the calendar, and we will be happy to answer all of your questions. And then after we answer all of your questions, If this is something that you feel can help you solve your money problem, ask us to help you, and we will certainly do that. So folks, I hope you enjoyed this presentation as much as I did. I love doing this. And I also hope you guys enjoyed the free gift, which is the book. And just so you all know, that book, Drifting Away from Traditional Car Buying, How to Keep Both Your Car and Your Finances in the Fast Lane, is an expanded version of what you saw here today about how to get all the money back for all the cars you'll ever buy driving home. So thank you for your time today, and we'll see you on the next one. So if you like that video, there's a lot more. So check out this video right here. And don't forget, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. And also don't forget, smash